Has your dreams ever been shattered? We've all been there at some point, right? But how we respond and turn things around can make all the difference. Stay with us to find out why Stefanie Pinsley left her dream job at Google, what she learned from the experience, and how she can help you get unstuck. You're watching So Victory Live with Brigetti Limbanda and Claire Chen. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching So Victory Live with myself, Brigetti, and Claire. Claire, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Brigetti? I'm so excited. I'm live with you again. This is Claire.
Oh my goodness. I am so glad that we're having this conversation today because, I think there's not a single one of us who at some point haven't gotten stuck in our life or in our career. And we can either stay there or we can find a way to move forward, right?
Absolutely. I can totally resonate the story, the presenter we're about to present today. And I think her story, talking about feeling burnout and then feeling stuck and then not knowing, where to go, lost to confidence and clarity. And then you see the bright light, and that's really step into the power of entrepreneurship. So I can totally resonate this story 100%.
Absolutely. And I think someone like Stefanie, who's actually lived through a real life experience where she landed her dream job, is just phenomenal. So do you want to just run through who she is and what our viewers can expect from her story today?
Absolutely. So Stefanie, upon graduating from Cornell University in 2017, Stefanie landed the seamless, perfect dream job at Google as a product marketing manager. A lifelong people pleaser and high achiever, she felt she had finally made it, especially given how proud this made her family. But it all came crashing down in August of 2020 when she was forced to take the leave of absence to address a case of several burnout and deteriorate her mental and physical health. While feeling like an ultra failure and disappointment, Stephanie found herself completely lost, confused, and stuck without a clue of what to do next. She craved a sense of purpose and autonomy of her work. So she began to sharing her knowledge on TikTok to start a small business community. And within months, she had grown on an audience over 70,000 followers and began to attract all kinds of opportunities from podcasting, media feature to brand deal and business partnership and clients and more. So now, let's just discover the journey of how she started her entrepreneurship and developed a personal brand, shall we?
Yes, absolutely. I cannot wait to welcome her to join us. Stefanie, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to chat about this.
Your journey has been absolutely inspirational, and we just can't wait to hear what you've got to share with us.
Yes, ready to dive in.
So I was actually diving in because I was reading, your story and how you started everything during COVID. So I think there's a lot of things that we can all resonate. So Stephanie, why don't you talk about what was the like, when you leave your absence in early 2021 and then you face a critical turning point about your career. Then obviously, I know you asked yourself, stay in Google or quit this dream job to embark this entire unknown journey of entrepreneurship. How did you make that critical decisions?
Well, it was a combination of things, and I'm going to talk about it in my presentation. But ultimately, it came down to I discovered that the corporate world just wasn't for me. My work style, my values, there was just a lot of mismatch there. I also hired a business coach, so I was able to really have that support and start building my coaching program. But I don't want to give too much away because we'll dive into this in the presentation.
Shall we dive through your presentation? Because I think that'll just sort of give us a jump start into the conversation that Ken and I are really, really looking forward to having with you today.
Yeah, let's do it. So hi guys, I'm Stefanie. I'm a personal branding and marketing coach. I'm so excited I get to share my journey with you today. So I can't click these slides. That's right. So, they're automatic. Never mind. I had graduated from Cornell University in 2017. So I was an applied economics and management major, and I concentrated in marketing because my grandfather was very successful in advertising and marketing, and I really looked up to him in his career. And so I started taking, I did marketing internships in college, and I really did love it. I still do. But I do think it's interesting how we choose our career paths and then end up sort of staying on them for years. And sometimes they're not necessarily based. We don't make these choices based on, our true selves and our strengths and our values. So, I made this decision based on my family, and ultimately, I got a lot out of it. And so I graduated in May of 2017. I was one of the few people in my senior class that didn't have their job lined up by December. And so, I was sort of applying to places, didn't hear back anywhere significant. And then my friend Lawrence said, Steph, apply to the Google APMM program. I was like, I do not want to move to California, number one. I don't think I'm going to get in. And so he's like, just do it. So I submitted my application the day before they were due. Didn't think anything of it, but I ended up getting in. And I had a really great experience overall. I started out on the Google Assistant brand team, and my first 6 months were quite a rocky road. So I remember this so vividly. It was about 6 months in. And so my manager, who was this very powerful director, very high up, I was intimidated by her. I was very scared of her. So we would have one-on-ones, but she would always cancel them because she was too busy. And I, being terrified of her, was like, great, I don't have to see you. I wouldn't reschedule them. Well, come my 6-month performance review check-in, I learned that I was not meeting her expectations. In fact, she wanted to give me the lowest performance review possible. And I was devastated. Especially having not really received a ton of negative feedback. I didn't play sports, I was always good in school. So this broke me. And she even told me, she's like, I don't think that you're cut out for Google, or maybe you're not. And I was like, all right, well, she decided I need to see your work. I want to see what you can do. So she said, I want you to own this end of year campaign for the Google Assistant. I said, all right. I took on this campaign. It was about a month. It's a very condensed timeline for a campaign launch, especially of that size. It was the hardest month of my life. I was wearing all these different hats, and I was not sleeping. My nerves were fried. But ultimately, this campaign ended up becoming one of Google's most popular ad campaigns of all time, which is the Google Assistant Home Alone campaign. And I felt redeemed. I really did, because I was finally feeling like, you know what, I'm not useless. Like I can bring something to the table. It was a really great experience. I got to work closely with Macaulay Culkin and his team, and it was it was just a very cool thing to be a part of. And so that was a great career win. I felt redeemed. And then, after that year or so, I rotated, because this is a rotational program, to the master brand team. I started out on the Google Digital Wellbeing team, which is about helping people develop healthier relationships with technology. And I loved it, had a great team. Everything was awesome. And then the team got deprioritized. So I had to move to another team. Great manager, great people, but I really hated the work. At this same time, COVID came. So I now am flying home to New York from San Francisco. I had no idea at the time, but that was the last time I would be living on the West Coast. So I fly home. We're all sort of, locking down for COVID. I'm moving back in with my family, living in my childhood bedroom, working in my childhood bedroom, working out in there. It was just a lot. And my bedroom was very small. So I ended up, I think that did contribute to me getting a little bit burnt out. But ultimately, it was a huge, huge blessing, because my family and I are so close. They mean the world to me. I miss them so much. And so that was a huge silver lining of COVID for all of us, was that we got to be reunited. So I had these great moments with my family. I'm working from home. I'm living in my childhood bedroom. I'm on this different team. And the work I'm doing really doesn't light me up. I felt almost like a glorified assistant. I didn't feel like I was making an impact. And as someone with ADHD, when I'm working on something that I'm not interested in, that takes a toll on me. But when I'm working on something that I'm not interested in for an extended period of time, it burns me out significantly. So I ended up reaching a point of such severe burnout that I could no longer ignore. I tried to take mental health days here or there just to make it through to the next day. But eventually those were not enough. My burnout got so bad that my mood was all over the place. I had no tolerance for any kind of adversity. I even remember vividly going to a physical that year and getting my blood work back. And it was really scary for me because it showed how this stress was impacting my body. My cholesterol was through the roof. I had inflammation. I was really in a bad place. So ultimately I had to take a leave of absence in August of 2020. And at this point, I'm like, I have no idea what's wrong? Why can't I just push through? What's wrong with me? And I had to do a lot of self-discovery work on this leave of absence to really get reacquainted with who Stefanie is. What does she value in a career? What does she really want and need? And this was really a labor of love. I was working with my therapist on this. I was doing tons of journaling, still do, meditation, visualization. And I discovered a lot about myself in this time frame. At the same time, while I'm on leave, I started posting on TikTok because I really just wanted a creative outlet, number one. I wanted that, freedom, that creative freedom and autonomy, because I didn't feel that at my career at Google. But also I felt like this would give me some sort of fulfillment because I'm just sharing whatever marketing mindset, branding knowledge I had with the small business community. I ended up creating a lot of videos. Eventually, my account grew within 5 months to about 70,000 followers, which was cool. But what was way cooler for me was the fact that I was getting all of these really interesting opportunities. So within about 2 months after creating this content consistently, I started getting people were reaching out to me about being on their podcast or being featured in press or potential job offers or brand deals. Clients were reaching out, even though I hadn't even launched any offer or hinted that something was coming, but all of these opportunities were coming towards me, business partnerships. And I had a little bit of an epiphany here. And I said, okay, so personal branding is very powerful. And then this is really what led me to want to start coaching on personal branding. And so ultimately, I quit my job at Google in February of 2021. So I got back from leave. I gave it another shot for about a month, and it really just was more of the same. So I quit in February of 2021, which was not an easy decision, but it was months in the making. And honestly, that was the right decision for me. The other thing that I forgot to mention, which I'm seeing here in this photo, when I was creating this TikTok content, while I did love the opportunities, what I loved the most was that I was getting all of these messages from my audience thanking me for the impact I'd made on their lives. And it was the most fulfilling thing for me. And I had not felt that fulfillment at my career at Google. I really was lacking that. And so seeing all these messages just by sharing my knowledge and stories and being authentic and vulnerable, creating content, it was incredible to see the messages that I would get and the impact that I was having. So this was, again, another huge clue for me that I needed to quit because this was giving me a sense of fulfillment I had never felt before. So I quit in February of 2021. Like I said, I built a group coaching program about how to build your personal brand with the intention of helping, entrepreneurs grow their business. But after working with enough clients and seeing the impacts of building a personal brand on my community, I realized that personal branding has an even more profound effect, which is it is probably, in my opinion, one of the best ways to get unstuck professionally because it happens to produce these 3 critical ingredients that we need when we're stuck, which are confidence, clarity, and new opportunities aligned with our career sweet spot. And so now I'm really passionate about helping people build their personal brands so that they can get unstuck professionally. And so I've been evolving my coaching programs to sort of bring in more of the mindset work and helping people manage burnout. And that's actually another reason I started Project Unstuck, which is my free video series, which helps people build a personal brand, get unstuck. And I've been interviewing people for that. And it's just been a really exciting journey and a passion project that I've been leaning into a lot.
Wow.
Oh, I think you're muted.
That is awesome. Thank you, Stefanie. That was wonderful. Just
Thank
going
you.
through your journey was amazing. We're going to take a very, very quick break. And then we're going to come back and we'll just chat through some of the stuff that you talked about. But I also just want to remind the audience that after the show, we don't want you to leave straight away. We're going to go into a meet and greet. So stay around for that, because it's a very, very special interaction that you get, a more sort of one-on-one conversation with Stefanie. So please don't forget that. So we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. You're watching So Victory Live with myself, Brigitte Limbanda, and Claire Chen, and our amazing special guest today is Stefanie Pinsley.
I love the story. I was like literally listening. I could totally resonate many different things. We talked about feeling stuck, lost confidence, and then the burnout, and that caused mental issue, because those are things I have experienced, especially if you also worked in the corporate like I did. And that actually linked into a question I have. If we find ourselves in a situation where we are stuck in life and career choices, which I think this really represent a lot of modern people, societies, because often we don't even know we have those symptoms. And can you share with us what are some of the challenges with current approaches, Stefanie?
I'm so glad you asked. And 70% of people in a recent global study conducted by Oracle, 70% of people are feeling stuck professionally. And I believe the reason a lot of us are feeling stuck is, number one, like I had mentioned in my presentation, when we choose a career path, it's normally based on one of three things. Either we go based on what our family and friends tell us to do, whatever we invested a significant amount of time or energy into. We go for the big flashy companies like I did, and we don't really choose a career based on our values and our strengths, our superpowers, our work style. And so that's one reason I believe a lot of us end up stuck. The other reason is when we're stuck, we don't often know we're stuck, because I believe stuck is a misnomer. We think stuck is only when we're standing still and almost frozen. But often being stuck looks a lot more like taking counterproductive action that thwarts our progress. So we're moving, but the actions that we're taking are actually making us even more stuck than before, because we're basically draining our energy, our confidence, our motivation to change as we are taking all of these actions. This could look like applying to 100 different places, or just creating all the content, tricking yourself into feeling productive, reaching out into your network. We're doing things, but we're not seeing results. And so it's almost as if when we are stuck, we step into quicksand. And the more erratically we move, the harder it is to get unstuck, and the more stuck we get. And so to get unstuck from both quicksand and our careers, you have to move slowly and with intention. You have to also, if you're stuck in quicksand, this is a quick lesson. If anyone finds themselves stuck in quicksand, not only do you want to have very slow, deliberate movements, but you want to try to take a step backward first to reach solid ground. And that's actually something that I think we need to do as well when we're finding ourselves stuck in our careers. We're looking back at our past experiences, both in school, in work, with our personal lives, and we're trying to get a good sense. Again, we're doing that self-discovery work to understand who we are. But again, that's why I believe a lot of people end up stuck, because they do that thrashing thing and then they make themselves more stuck. And then they're just left feeling sort of burnt out. And, when we're stuck, we're already burnt out. We already have very limited time or energy. So it's a challenge. And I think that's why I started Project Unstuck, because I'm passionate about helping people with that.
Wow, there were just so many truth bombs that you dropped there, and one of those light bulb moments for me was the fact that you said sometimes we don't even realize that we are stuck in it, because it's such an insidious process of getting to that point of being stuck. And I like that you also defined what it means to be stuck. So what would you say is the connection between confidence, clarity, opportunities, and personal branding to help us free ourselves from that position of being stuck?
So basically, in building your personal brand, and this is more unique to my program because the first module is all about laying a strong foundation. So before we even begin building our personal brand, we're doing a lot of work on our mindset. We're unpacking and rewiring our limiting beliefs. We're seeing what fears are holding us back. What is our personal story? Where is it empowering? Where is it disempowering? We're looking at what are my motivators for change? We need to find a strong sense of why, right? To give us that fuel to keep to take this radical change. And so as we're doing this first module of building our personal brand, which again, we're not technically building it, we're preparing, we're getting acquainted with ourselves, we're building a bulletproof mindset. This is where we can start to build that confidence. Clarity comes in a few ways. The first is that when we're building our brand identities and our niche, so in building a personal brand, we first need to understand what is my niche. Once you have that understanding, then you can build your brand identity. And this is just, your visuals, your imagery, your words. But in doing these niche and branding exercises, we're gaining even more clarity on our values, on our purpose, our strengths, our superpowers. And so this is another way to get clarity. The third way that we're getting clarity, or the second, is in the third step of the program, which is all about creating content, creating high value content. While we create content on social media, social media acts as a testing ground for us to explore and experiment with our lesser explored passions and interests. Because remember, we stay on that path, right? We pick the path usually before our brains are even developed. We're on this career path and we don't have the chance to explore and experiment with other things. And so content becomes a great way for us to experiment and learn, is this something I like? If you don't like creating content about something, you probably won't want to pursue a career in it. So that's how you gain that clarity. And then the final thing is opportunities. We need new opportunities that are aligned with our career sweet spot. And I look at a career sweet spot as just the intersection, if you were to think of like a forest circle Venn diagram, as the intersection between what you like, what you're good at, what you value, and what people will pay you for. And so when we are creating high value content in our niche, we are magnetizing ourselves for all sorts of opportunities. This could look like brand deals or clients, job offers, partners, like I said, and this was the epiphany moment I had. So really, those are the three main steps of my personal branding program, and all three of those help to contribute to the confidence, clarity, and opportunities.
Wow, I love it. I think that people just think it's so easy. Oh, hey, you just create a personal brand. And when you get on social media, and if someone who may not know how social media really operate and personal brand, it can be really overwhelming. And then often we have forgotten, what is our value, and then what's our purpose and vision. And I love the fact you really dive into these three ingredients, which is, I think a lot of people seem to have difficulty of finding them. That being said, tell us more about your experience with what at first seems like a golden opportunity with Google and what you learned from it.
So I learned that I realized that I had been chasing validation most of my life. I was always a high achiever, people pleaser. I wanted to make everyone around me happy. And so I did what I thought I was supposed to do and what seemed like, the best thing for the external success. And I realized in this experience that I had lost touch with myself and I didn't know really much about myself at all. And so in that experience, I also, and posting about quitting Google, that was a really crazy response that I got on that video. I realized from that how many people are in the exact same position, and we're in these dream jobs, which they should be perfect, right? I mean, we're at the big companies, we're having all of this success, but success is different for everyone. And your definition of success may look different than someone else's. And just because you're at the best company or a great company doesn't mean that that's necessarily going to make you fulfilled. And so that was what I learned, is that you have to learn more about yourself. You have to explore and experiment and take the pressure off yourself to have it all figured out. When I started Project Unstuck, I got a lot of messages from Gen Zers who, they're early 20s and they're so stressed because they don't have their career figured out. They feel like a failure. And I'm like, no. Your 20s are meant to be this period of just playing and exploring in different things so you can get an understanding of what really matters to you. Because we may think that this thing that we're doing, you know, I thought forever marketing was my biggest strength. But then I learned that I had another bigger superpower in coaching and speaking. I wouldn't have understood that if I hadn't, had these experiences. So don't close yourself off to other things just because you end up in a good quote unquote job.
I love it.
I also like that, I like the fact that you emphasize, and I think this is a really important point for young people out there, is that you shouldn't feel that you are locked into a career in your 20s. Because it is a time to explore and just figure out who you are and where you want to go. And also, as you say, it's okay to change gears.
Yes.
If things are not working, it's okay.
And this is why I am passionate about people starting to create content while they may still be at their job. Because if you're in a job that you really don't like, or let's say you're an entrepreneur, you have your own business, but something feels off, you feel stuck in your own business, which happens to a lot of people. You don't necessarily need to completely, pull everything apart and pivot and make a new business model. You can start, exploring pivoting by creating content, right? So that I'm trying to preach that a lot. It's again, it gives you that clarity. It gives you the opportunities, but it also gives you confidence because, like I had mentioned, you will get messages from your audience that will fulfill you. You'll see the value that you're adding in people's lives. And so, yeah, I think content is a great way to start exploring without fully pivoting into a whole new industry.
Totally agree. It's start to share content with your story because you just never know that small piece of message who you can really impact. I think that's the best way.
And I actually was able to, I felt a little stuck recently in marketing coaching. While I love marketing, it wasn't my ultimate thing. And so for me, I just started creating content about getting unstuck. Again, I'm not taking any drastic moves. I'm not remember the quicksand metaphor. We don't want to thrash, do all these different things, drain our energy. So that dipping your toe into new things with content can be a great way to pivot and get unstuck. And again, this is how I'm repositioning myself as a marketing coach to more of the personal branding unstuck coach.
Wow.
Oh, that's amazing. So I want to thank our amazing audience for joining us today. Whether you were watching us on whichever platform you're joining us today, thank you. And we know that you've learned tons because I've learned tons and I know Claire's learned tons. And there's been so much value in the show today. So just a huge big shout out to everyone from my side.
Yes, and to sum up our conversation, so Stefanie, do you want to share how can people find you and what are you currently working on so the people can really need your help from stuck and feeling unstuck?
So I am currently doing coaching and speaking on helping people get unstuck by developing their personal brands. So if you're interested in that, just go to stefpinsley.com/hello. You can also join Project Unstuck for free. And this is, again, we're talking about how to get unstuck with personal branding, but rather than going too deep in the weeds, which is what I'm coaching on, we're actually interviewing other people. So we're interviewing both the experts that are helping us with managing things like burnout, but also the unstuck guides, I'm calling them. And these are people that have already gotten unstuck so we can learn from their journey. So join Project Unstuck. Go to stefpinsley.com/hello if you're interested in learning more about my coaching and speaking as well.
That was amazing. Thank you so much. And from my side, a quick reminder to everyone, we're going to be, when the show ends right now, it's not quite the end of the show. We're going to move over to a meet and greet session where we can just have another conversation, an unfiltered conversation with Stefanie. So come over and join us there. And so again, thank you so much for joining us on this amazing show today. We were watching So Victory Live with myself, Brigetti, and Claire Chen. Stefanie, a huge big shout out to you once again. Thank you for joining us today and for sharing your pearls of wisdom with us. Take care, everyone. We'll see you in the meet and greet, and we'll see you on the next episode of So Victory Live.
Thank you.